What's up, everybody? Welcome to podcast. Now I'm Alex. In this video, I want to talk about if Watch Dogs is actually going to release in 2020. So, Watch Dogs has had an interesting journey to this point, and you could be saying to yourself, well, they did say it should come out in the fall of 2020. Now, it's like an undisclosed. They didn't say the actual release date, but what we know of Watch Dogs is this. Originally, it was supposed to come out in November of 2019. Then it was pushed, it was delayed, right, to March of 2020, which actually, them pushing it again did save me because March has Final Fantasy VII, Animal Crossing, and Doom Eternal, all three of which I'm getting. I also believe it's got Nioh 2. I'm not getting that, but that's also a really big one as well. So there's plenty of games in March. So for my own sanity, I'm happy about that one. But to be more realistic, especially considering this game, here's the deal with this game. I'm very, very excited for this game. I thought what we saw at E3 looked very good, looked very promising. I doubt anybody that's watching this has been a fan of the channel or has watched the channel for as long as we've been around, but we actually covered the second Watch Dogs, and if you know our journey through Watch Dogs, Tyler and I super despised the first Watch Dogs. We were so excited for it, and much like basically everyone at the time, fell for the Ubisoft trap of, wow, this is like the game for next gen. We all bought it, right? And then, in my opinion, huge disappointment. Not a good game whatsoever. Watch Dogs 2 totally rebounded, and that brings us to Watch Dogs Legion. Again, this game looked rather good at E3. It looked to have all the promising things. It looked to have all of the improvements you would expect of it, right? It had all of that stuff upon its announcement and its showing, and it looked great. And then we heard, and then obviously supposed to come out in November. It's like, wow, very fast turnaround. I am actually a pretty big fan of when games do that. And then again, delayed till March. It's like, all right, well, I was looking forward to it. To be honest with you, would I have even been able to play it in November? No, that's when Death Stranding, Pokemon, Star Wars. Again, I got all three of those games as well. Black Friday, I bought like Outer Worlds and Sekiro, so I was catching up on all the old games as well. So would I have had time to play it in November? No, but from a game perspective, honestly, it's a little worrying. I've always gone on record saying I'm a fan of delays. I don't root for them. Be like, I hope this game gets delayed, but if a game gets delayed, you know what? It's probably for the best. If the game got delayed, that means that they are aware that there's some problems that need fixing, right? That there's something that needs to be improved. So I give them, credit, any developer credit for doing that. However, when you start getting into 2 delays, when the game gets delayed, basically at this point, an entire year. Because here's the deal with Watch Dogs Legion. If it comes out this fall, if it even comes out in 2020, it's going to be like a cross-generation game, right? Because it would come out like November, and it would come out PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X. So we know that. I mean, I think, again, not confirmed, but you don't come out in November, especially if you're Ubisoft, right? Ubisoft isn't going to have a game like this come out, and it's just on current gen. Same reason why it would not come out just on next gen either, right? Even if it comes out in 2021, early 20, which I think is, it's possible. Honestly, it could come out if they like November and March for Watch Dogs, because again, those were the 2 dates that they had already planned on it. Maybe it could be March of 2021. And even still then, we know from Microsoft, their brilliant planning of not having any exclusives on the next generation consoles that aren't already on or aren't simultaneously on the current Xbox One. And while I hate that strategy, that does mean, especially for third parties, that's going to probably be the way that we do things. I don't want that. I think PS5 needs, and rumor has that they will. But so I think any game that even comes out in 2021, it would probably be cross-platform. But it's still a worrying thing, right? Like if a game gets delayed twice, it gets delayed overall for like a full year. You have to wonder what's going on in there, especially we're not really used to that, besides, I should say, we're not used to it with Ubisoft games, besides Skull and Bones. Skull and Bones is really the only other one in recent memory. Most of their games, they get announced, they get shown a couple times, let me take it back. They get leaked, they get enormously leaked where everybody knows all about it, and it's like the world's worst kept secret. Then they announce it. Then they show it. It looks, whatever quality you want to give a Ubisoft product. And then the game comes out within 6 to 12 months, let's say. A lot of time, Ubisoft is a fast turnaround company, right? They announce their game, and then it comes out rather soon. Especially Assassin's Creed, they like to do that, right? So you have all of that. we're not really used to seeing something like Watch Dogs, right? Or Skull and Bones. Game gets announced. Game gets shown twice in Skull and Bones' case, right? It gets shown 2 times, and it looks promising, but it's like, hey, does it have this mechanic or that mechanic? And then everybody is like looking at them, looking at their peers, right? And they're like, oh shoot, we don't have that, and then they just go silent for years. And that's Skull and Bones. That's really a rarity with Ubisoft, and so is Watch Dogs getting delayed from November to March. It's already like, wow, we don't really see Ubisoft do this with their games all that often. And then now March, now it's to whenever. They don't even have, I mean, again, like it's to the fall, but and you could say, well, they said it's the fall. Well, yeah, that doesn't mean they can't delay it again. So that's all I'm saying. The question I'm raising is, do they basically, another way of saying this video is, will they delay Watch Dogs Legion a third time? Will it be delayed again? It's not impossible, especially if there's some problems there, especially if you have to remember this too. Here's the biggest thing. Here's the reason why it could very well be delayed. The game was supposed to come out, again, in November of 2019. That was their target. That's where everything was set. Now, you could say, all right, well, it should surely, right, and my name's not Shirley, but it could surely be made and ready to go for 2020, right? The fall of a full year should give it enough time. Well, if it was only planned to come out in 2019, November of 2019, that means they had no reason, or really none of them had planned to make a next generation version. Maybe they did afterwards. Maybe the game would come out and then they would spend all of 2020 working on a port for next gen, which would be enhanced graphics, enhanced lighting, and like all of those enhancements. It wouldn't be a game built from the ground up for next gen. Now, I'm not saying that isn't what they are, like that isn't what they're doing. Okay, they're not rebuilding it from the ground up for next gen. But now that it's delayed, now they need to get it out for next gen. You know what I mean? They could have spent all of 2020, maybe even said, well, you know what, we need more time. Maybe it can come out in March of 2021, and that's the PS5 Xbox Series X version. And you can get that, or you could have gotten the original less than a year and a half before, right, in November of 2019. But you would have time at your own leisure to do this. I think with where it's at now, they need to kind of be simultaneously. I don't really think you can come out in November of 2020 and say, all right, here's Watch Dogs Legion on Xbox One and PS4. Well, and that's it. It's pretty weird to do that, right? Wouldn't you think that's kind of, especially, again, from a company like Ubisoft, that'd be, again, like a company like Activision, a company like EA, right? Like if a Battlefield game, it's not going to, right? Because they've already said it's going to take, it's going to be in 2021. But say the Battlefield game, the next Battlefield game came out in the fall of 2020 when the next-gen consoles were out. And they were only out for PS4 and Xbox One because they originally had planned it to come out this past year. Does that, I would understand how that could happen, but I feel like from a business perspective, from how these organizations are run, it's just not how they are, right? They're not going to do that. So I think with these delays, it's put Watch Dogs Legion in a tough spot where it needs to be both now. They need to come out with weirdly enough, 4 versions of the game, right? The PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, and they're all slightly different from it. And I get it. They're not each going to take you insanely long, but there are different versions now. And I feel like you need to have them all come out at the same time. I mean, if you don't agree that the next gen and current gen have to come out at the same time, then you're just not going to agree with the point of this video. And that's totally cool. You know, you believe whatever you believe. I'll believe whatever I want to believe. That's totally fine. But I just think that's the situation that Watch Dogs Legion finds itself in. I want it to come out in the fall of 2020. I think Legion is a perfect, well, I don't want to say this wrong because it's not what Watch Dogs was for next gen. Again, it's not like, oh, this is the next gen game. Like this was not possible on the the gen before. This could only happen here, right? And we all fell for that trap. And the answer is not really, right? It could have been done on the PS3. But I'm not saying Watch Dogs Legion is that, but the first month that this console is out, I'm going to buy the PS5. So let's just talk about the PS5 real fast and I'll wrap it up. I'm buying the PS5. I think Watch Dogs Legion is a pretty solid game for the PS5. You know what I mean? It's not going to show off all of the things the PS5 can do, but when I think of the PS5 in that first month, I think like Horizon Zero Dawn 2 is a PS5 exclusive. That would be the game that you buy and you say, okay, this is what the console can do at launch. Like they're pushing it as far as they could have this early on, right? And obviously developers will get it further later on as the cycle goes, but this is where we're at now. I think that is that title, but I think Watch Dogs is like, yeah, this is a good, same thing like Assassin's Creed. I don't think Assassin's Creed will happen this year, but I think Assassin's Creed would be like that. I think there's a lot of examples I could do, but there's reasons why Watch Dogs should come out this year. I think it would be kind of alarming if it gets pushed back again. If it gets pushed back to March of 2021, that's like almost a year and a half after it was supposed to come out. Like that, at what point do you say, are they actually kind of restarting? Are they doing a Skull and Bones? I mean, Skull and Bones could have very much I mean, not insanely, not literally from ground zero restarted, but from what we can tell, I think that Skull and Bones pretty much started over. So I don't know if Watch Dogs would be in that same boat if it continues to get pushed or not. It all depends on if this game gets pushed a third time, basically. So guys, let me know in the comments below. What do you think? Is Watch Dogs Legion releasing in 2020, or do you think it will get delayed again to 2021? Which systems do you think it's going to be on at launch? All those things, let me know in the comments below. Make sure you guys subscribe to our YouTube channel, Podcast Now. Hit the bell icon. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope to see you all on the next video.